If you love movies, you're in the right place, and that right place is here at the Chronicle, the official film podcast for the People's Movies. My name is Paul, I'm your host. I'm also the editor of the People's Movies. Welcome you all to episode 43. Did I get that right, Clotilde? 43?
I believe so.
Yep, and welcome to you, Clotilde, as well. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm enjoying the weather. I don't. Is it how is it in London? Nice and sunny like it is here up north.
It is. It's very nice and sunny. Finally, feels like we've been waiting for a long time.
It made my work today very, very, very good. By the way, folks, I work for a well-known holiday airline. I won't say what one it is. So for this week's episode, we are doing two films. We are doing The Death of the Unicorn, and we're doing Four Mothers. And for the first film for this episode 43 of the Chronicle will be The Death of the Unicorn. It's released here in the UK from Entertainment Film Distributors, also known as EFD Films. But elsewhere, it's probably more known for an A24 film. So this is a debut feature for the director Alex Skarsgård, and it stars Paul Rudd, Jenna, Ortega, and they star as a father-daughter, that's Elliot and Ridley, and they're on their way to the Leopold estate, which is a retreat that's up in the mountains. Elliot, it's his boss that runs this retreat. As they're driving up to the retreat, we do learn the relationship between Ridley and her dad is it's very fragile, because we quickly learn that Elliot's a single father, a widowed father, and that his wife died. Ridley, her dad asked her to come, and she doesn't want to let him down, and she's here to sort of support him. So on the way as they're arguing, they actually knock something down. They first think it's a horse, but as we quickly do learn, it's not a horse, it's a unicorn. They drive up, so obviously Elliot decides to get something out the car and absolutely destroy the unicorn, and the blood, I think it's blood, goes over Ridley's face and onto her father, and there's something we quickly learn later on that it might have some magic healing powers in it. So as they're driving up, they learn that they put the dead unicorn, or is it dead, in the back of the car. Odell who's the patriarch of the Leopold family, is played by Richard D. Grant. Elliot's going up there to present do a presentation, so he would quickly become like the chairman of the Leopold company. And the Leopolds, they're a wealthy family run pharmaceutical company. And would you say, Clotilde, was it philanthropist? I can't even say that right, but it's many of the wealth. So as they start to present, Elliot starts to present his thing to Odell, as we quickly learn is dying. They start to see something's happening out in the car, and they take the thing out, and all the family are saying it's a unicorn. And the unicorn comes alive again, but they kill it again. And at this point, as I said, there's magic healing powers to it. Ridley's had bad acne, and it's cleared that. And also with Elliot, he has he gets a lot of hay fever. That's all cleared now. As they start to learn, Odell takes a bit of they start to take things out of the dead unicorn. Suddenly, it's cured them. That there might be more than one unicorn. Forgot about the parents. This is a young unicorn. Obviously, other parts of Odell's family. There's Will Porter, who plays the son Shepherd, who's just like your sort of self-entitled son who has everything. I thought it was quite weird how Clotilde, he was always walking about in shorts, and he was always like a drink in him, and he was always smoking or something like that, and he was always, he can do what he likes. And his mum was played by Tia Leone. I don't like criticise and totally rip apart first-time films, because Alex Sheffield, this is his first debut feature, but this was truly awful. This was awful with a capital A. I watched this in a press screening, and I think there was maybe 10, 11, 12 other critics in there, and not a single one of them, apart from one person, we all hated it, apart from one person who was laughing. And I think, and the thing was, as I said, this is an A24 film. And A24 are quite hip, as you probably agree with me. They're very hip. For a while there, it was only in America they were there, but they now do release films over this side of the world. Pretty hip thing. They've released things like Queer, Heretic, what a big, maybe I would say arty films. But this is the second week, and they've released two duds. The week before, they released Y2K, which had, I think his name he's from Stranger Things, Jaden Martell. No Stranger Things. He was from It. Maybe it isn't. Yeah, he's in there. Everyone's favourite person to hate at the moment. Rachel Zegler's in there as well. We won't talk about that. I think there's enough said about that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'm somebody, I believe, if you hate the film, you've got a genuine reason why you hate it, not something very political. Yeah, do like it, do hate it. If you love it, that's fair enough. These two films are absolutely awful. As I said, I think this was a one joke film. It was all about the unicorn kills, eat the rich. So I don't know about you, Clotilde. I think this probably would have done better as a short film. I actually
Oh,
think.
that's a good point.
Yeah, because they overstretched it to a point, you know. It was the characters were one dimensional. The joke was one dimensional. It was very annoying. It was very frustrating. I'm not going to talk more. I've got a lot more to say about it. I'll let you say what you did. You like it or hated it like me?
I didn't like it. I didn't like hate it, but I certainly didn't like it. I think there were some good like maybe thoughts and ideas in it. I don't think they're developed enough. I feel like my biggest problem is the screenwriting, which is often my problem with films. I think that's one of the biggest things for me. Like if the writing is not good, then I'm out of it completely. Personally, I feel like that's one of the main things I look at. And with this film, I just felt very sloppy. There's some
Yeah.
bits that are very expositionary. Too much is like at times it feels like they're not even trusting the audience to sort of like make connections. And you're like, there's nothing I hate more personally than a film that thinks I'm stupid. That really bothers me. Like I can get that connection myself. You don't need to sort of like over explain it to me. And I feel like they did that quite a lot. I also feel like I think the way they brought the unicorn and magical element in could have been really cool because they go back to like I think myths and existing art about unicorns, but it's like a throwaway in the film. And I think if they had focused on that, it would have been really cool. But instead, it feels like the unicorn element is just for fun. I don't know if that makes sense. That's what I felt. I felt like it was more there for like either shock value or for like the laughs rather than actually wanting to include a magical element. And I think in terms of writing in general, when you include magic in your story, I think you have to be really careful. It can't just be like, oh, this is like a fun thing to throw in. I think it has to be very well thought of, and it feels like in this film it wasn't. I think the biggest problem for me was that they didn't establish well enough that the unicorn element or like how their magic operates, if you will, which I'm not saying they do like a world building at the level of like Tolkien or like stuff like that. But I do think you have to be quite strict in how you use your magic. I don't like how in a lot of films, and I think this one as well, it's just used for like solve issues and situations that are like unsolvable. Like feels like they've basically created a plot and put their characters in a situation they can't get them out of, and that's why they use the magic. And I hate when like new elements, especially when it comes to magic, are used like that because it's just lazy. You're being lazy. Like you created this plot line and now you don't know how to get out of it, and so you just throw some magical things in it. That really bothers me. That's like my biggest complaint, I guess. I have to say, I think the acting was quite good, and that's what saves some of it for me. I think Will Poulter, I think that's how you pronounce his surname.
Yes.
He's fantastic. I haven't seen him in a while, I have to say. I'm not sure what he did recently. But I remember him from like the Chronicles of Narnia. And like those films that he did like about 10 years ago or so. And I have to say he was so good. He was so funny. He can do this very like physical comedy very well, I think. And also like obviously his character is meant to be funny. I think he embodies that so well. Like he's so annoying, but at the same time, very like you can't take your eyes off him when he's on screen. He's very good at it. So I was very impressed, I have to say, with him. And I think in general, like the Leopold family, they're so good. They're so like in a way they're almost caricatures, but I think where the acting comes in and they're really good is that they're not making them as like caricatures of existing people, but they are funny and they are making fun of like a social class, but they're doing it from like the viewpoint of actual characters. So I do really appreciate that sort of work they did. And I also really like the butler. I think Anthony Carrigan is playing that. He was so good again, very funny. Those two really stood out to me because every time they were on screen I was laughing. But I think it was more for like how they said certain line or how they moved rather than actually the film being funny. So I didn't love it. I have to say I think that there could be more done with the premise. I think it was a bit, sometimes you couldn't tell if it was a comedy or a horror film. And I think films can be both. I'm not saying that you have to choose, but I think it wasn't very clear like which moments were meant to be like sort of jump scare or gore or whatever, and which moments were meant to be funny. It feels like the sort of mix between the two wasn't very successful, I think.
As I said, A24's got a bit of a reputation being a company who get really high-end films. This, for me, it was a bit like a fake A24 film.
Yeah.
It was a bit like, I don't know if you've noticed in social media, especially on Facebook and YouTube, you've got all these fake trailers for all these sequels and
Yeah.
prequels that people have been waiting forever for. Oh, we've got the new John Wick 5 trailer. John Wick 5, I think they're in talks to potentially do it, but they were telling you about it last year or whatever, It's like that type of film, It gave me that impression. This is not a real A24 film, that type of thing. Talking to Will Porter, I totally agree with Will Porter. He was really good. One of the last films that I remember him being in was the last Guardians of the Galaxy film. Yeah, he was in that. The guy you were saying, the butler, was Anthony Harrigan. I seen him recently in a very, very small indie film at the Glasgow Film Festival, where the film starred Alfie Allen as Timothy McVeigh. It's just called McVeigh. The guy who bombed the Oklahoma bombings for the 1990s. He plays a very sinister type of character who introduces Timothy McVeigh to the sort of Nazi side of people who believed in what Timothy McVeigh believed in. He was good. He was the sort of side, if you like to say, the working class side, the down to earth guy who works for his big boss, who knows that he has to do everything his boss tells him, or as he said, he's got his family. His family won't be provided with, type of thing. Yeah, I thought the special effects was very, very poor. It was very poorly made. It was something that was made maybe 30, 35 years ago, sort of pre-Jurassic Park. I've heard a few reviews saying this is like a Jurassic Park meets some satire movie. I don't think it is. And talking special effects, I remember Mark Kermode saying in his review of this film, when they do their list, they get people who say they'll send in letters or emails what they think of the films in the list. And one of the films was Flow, the film that won the Oscars, the animated film.
Love that film.
Do you know that was made in a free bit of software called Blender?
Yes, isn't that insane?
Yep, this is a film, Death of Unicorn, which was, I think it was about 15 to 20 million. I know that's not big in Hollywood terms, but that is embarrassing that a film was made with love and passion on a free software. I used to have a good friend who I helped out a little bit, who I let him stay with me for a while. He uses Blender a lot. He did a lot of jobs for people, and it is a very good software if you can get a hand in it. It's like a 3D software. It can be used in multiple ways, like animation, obviously. And that just shows you the dedication, the passion, and Flow, which goes on to win an Oscar. This is lucky to last a week in the cinema. Though, looking at some of the reviews, the film fans are loving it. As I've said before, some of them are. It's actually the fan reviews are actually better, coming out a lot better. But I think that's a bit of a, what they say about Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. Don't always believe. Obviously, I think Snow White's like example. Snow White, I think it's about 1.6 or something IMDb, which technically makes it, if everyone believed it, the worst rated movie ever. It used to be Dragon Ball Evolution, which is an awful film as well. Don't always believe that, because you're hearing a lot of people who are liking Snow White and are liking what they're seeing. They know it's not a perfect movie, but they are liking what it's seeing. So I'm always saying, don't always believe the ratings that you get for this. I just think it was poorly constructed, this film. The characters were awful. They were one-dimensional. They didn't know if they wanted to give it the sort of horror tropes or the sort of comedic satire tropes. They actually didn't know what they wanted to actually be. As you said about the sort of fantasy mystical side, right at the beginning when Jenna Ortega's character is down with the unicorn, she starts to touch the horn, and it transports her into some sort of trippy mystical thing. They didn't really explore what that actually did. Part of it is it making you think, is that the two of them just connecting here, type of thing. But I I found it as a very gimmicky, very tiresome, very boring, and I think it was very shallow, and the dialogue at times was very obnoxious. If anything, I
Hmm.
thought it was obnoxious all the time. Before we give a rating, my final thoughts. What are your final thoughts, and what rating would you give it?
I would also say it's predictable, I think.
Yes.
Like I think from like well before Act Two, like very at the beginning of Act One, it does like from the moment they hit the unicorn. I
Yeah.
think you pretty much know how it's gonna end.
Yeah.
To the point that I was basically almost sure, like it's not spoilers that characters are gonna die, but I was
Yeah.
basically sure like the order in which people were gonna die. And that's a bit disappointing, I think. Because I think with a film that is relying so much on like jump scares and stuff like that, then it should have been a little bit less obvious.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's sort of like the final outcome, that's fair enough, that is quite predictable, but to the point where like twists of all twists and deaths are all so predictable, I think that's a bit much. Also, I didn't like the ending at all,
Yeah.
but that's fine. Um, in terms of rating, I was very unsure. I feel like I'm trying not to be too harsh because then I end up at the end of the year with so many movies that I rated
Yeah.
low. So I ended up giving it 3 stars, mainly because of the acting. I think that's the only sort of like positive thing of this film. And some of the shots are pretty, I guess, which is mainly dependent on where they were filming. But yes, I've gone for 3 stars because at least at times it's entertaining. What about you?
You were very generous, as I
I
said.
was, wasn't I? It's a low
Yeah.
3 stars.
Yeah. Said it's a very, very predictable film. I totally agree. The characters were very. It was a one joke film, which I think should have been a short film. You could easily have maybe put as a short film in front of another A24 slightly shorter film, like a 90-minute film. I think this film was about an hour and 50 minutes. It felt dragging on. I
Yeah.
lost total interest, I think, about halfway through it, and that's quite good for me. This is a bit of a joke at the press screenings. If I walk out and I don't come back, everyone knows I hated the movie. You know, that is it the one about the dogs that it was out in December? Was it Rachel Adams, Amy Adams? I can't remember. When she thinks she's a
Oh,
dog.
night bitch.
Yeah, that's the last time I've done it. However, I didn't walk out this. Another reason at the press day, it was quite a bad press day for us because film after film get cancelled. So at one point, I think we were going for about 3 or 4 movies. We got there, we were getting 2 movies, and then it became one movie, the movie we watched. It drowns in its irony. It feels like a fake A24 film, very shallow, and as I said, you gave it very generous. I'm giving this 0 stars.
Oh my God.
That's how much I
Wow.
hated it. 0 stars. So there you have it, folks. Death of Unicorn, a very low 3 stars, and an even lower 0 stars. And for the second and final review of episode 43 of the Chronicle is a BFI film, and that is the Irish film The Four Mothers. And Clotilda, would you like to tell us about it, what it's all about, who's in it, and if you enjoyed it or didn't enjoy it?
Absolutely. So Four Mothers is actually a remake of an Italian film. The Italian version, or original, I suppose, is called Mid-August Lunch, and it's from 2008. The kind of premise is the same, but obviously the setting is very different. The Italian one is understandably set in Italy. This one is sort of an English language remake set in Ireland that also brings a couple of new elements to the story. So, sort of premise is that the film follows a novelist. He's a bit of a struggling novelist, but very talented. Edward, I believe his name is, and he's played by
Yes.
McArdle. He is about to be successful because his new book is about to come out and it's been quite popular on social media. However, he is sort of stuck at home in a way, caring for his mother, who's played by Fionnula Flanagan, who's amazing, by the way.
Yes, totally agree.
He has like this caring responsibilities for his mother. At the same time, he's obviously trying to launch his career and doing everything that comes with it. So, for example, at the beginning of the film, we see him taking part in an interview, I believe by radio. But at the same time, he also has to care for his mother. So he's trying to balance the two. All is well and good, more or less, until his friends randomly decide to leave for a gay festival. I don't remember work, but I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in Spain. So they decided they've had enough of caring for their own mothers and they deserve a weekend of peace. So they essentially abandon all their mothers with
Yeah.
Edward and go enjoy this festival. So he finds himself caring for four elderly women who at first really don't get along with each other. Everybody has sort of like different needs and different things that they want, very specific as well. And he's there and has to like care for all of them because his friends are on a plane to Spain. And at the same time, he's sort of really struggling with his personally with his choice of what to do with his career because his career is really taking off when his book finds success. Especially on social media, and so they're offering him a lot of opportunities like a tour in the US, but obviously he has to figure out how to make that work with his care and responsibilities towards his mother. At the same time, he's also like going through a lot in his personal life. He runs into his ex again, who's helping him care for these four women. So there's a lot going on in his life, and a lot of the film takes place over this kind of very chaotic weekend when these women decide to go on a trip to Dublin, and he has to obviously go with them. So it's also like a very personal journey for the main character as well. But I think a lot of it is about like this mother-son relationship that he has with his mother, and obviously all the women characters in the film. I think they're brilliant. One of my favorite things of the film is how funny it is, but also quite. I think it's a really good balance because the humor is extremely good. Like from the script, the acting, chemistry between the characters is also really good. There's a lot of humor in it. I remember I watched it back at London Film Festival, and everybody was laughing. It's just one of those films that like really makes you laugh out loud, I think. But at the same time, I feel like the moment you stop and think about it, it's quite sad as well. The situation that in the fact that his mom is not well, she can't live on her own, and he has to like make this very difficult choice and potentially give up something that he really cares about to stay with her. So it's quite tragic, but the way they make it out in the film is very humorous, but I think while also being very respectful and very aware of like how hard the situation is for the main character. I'm sure that was like a very tricky balance to like in the film. I think a lot of it is thanks to the script and I think the acting as well. I think it's just brilliant. Especially there's a lot of moments when we see Edward with the four mothers. I think the scenes where they're all together are amazing. It feels like they bounce off each other's energy so well. And as an ensemble cast, I think they really work together, which is not always the case. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's like oddly enough, given the subject matter, a really sort of like feel good film, very heartwarming at times, and it's very much about like this relationship and the importance of this family relationship, but also about Edward's own growth and then what he has to do and figure out in his life. I think it's at times can be very inspiring as well to see him struggle, and then I think he's such a lovable character. You can't help like rooting for him, even if he is annoying at times. It's sort of funny because I think the whole premise is on the fact that he can't say no to his friends. Like they just drop their mothers off, and he just does it. I think at times it can be a bit frustrating because in your head you're like, any normal person would just no, but it really works. And I think again, to the credit of the actors, they really make all of this work. And I think maybe the premise itself will sound a bit crazy, but it's a lovely film. I haven't seen the original, but I know that some of the new elements introduced in this one are like the fact that Edward is gay and the relationship, I believe, with Ed is also a new element that is not in the Italian one. And obviously the whole setting and the fact that they go to Dublin is original to this one. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's like one of those perfect films to like see on a Sunday at the cinema. That was my experience. It was really like one of those films that I think stay with you because of like how funny and emotional they are. What about you?
Oh, I loved it. I really enjoyed it as well. I didn't realise it was a remake of the Italian film. I haven't seen it either mid-August launch. However, I've seen the film. It's considered the lost chapter, and I've actually reviewed it as well. Gianni Ledoni The Salt of Life. Some people say that is the missing chapter. That was released. It was released here in the UK, I think, around about 2012 or something like that. It was Curzon released it, and if I remember right, it's based in Naples, in it. If I remember, I think it is. The actors is it Gianni Di Greggio? He's the director. I think.
Right.
Yeah. Do you know Well, you would know because you interviewed him as well. James McArdle is actually.
Yes.
He's actually Scottish.
I actually didn't know that before, like, I did some research for the interview because I mean I'm not as familiar with the accent probably, but I thought it was so believable.
Yeah, I have to admit his accent was very, very good. If anyone's wondering, I've heard that name from somewhere. He has done a lot of TV. I think his most recent one was he was on ITV in series with Neem Algar, James Norton, Jessica Brown Finlay. I think it was called Playing Nice, where the one about the two couples, where they both have kids in the same hospital, but the kids get swapped, which is it feels heartbreaking that it actually does happen in real life. Unfortunately, all around the world we're hearing stories. James McArdle played one of the fathers, and that it was a story where they get together, the couples, and I would get quite pally, but one of the couples decides they want both the kids. It's that, as you said, it's charming. It's a very heartwarming film. And the thing about it's something about Irish humour, or as they call it, good crack. It's just funny the way they can say it's a bit like Scottish comedy as well. We can say it in a certain way, and it sounds funny, but it also sounds very heartwarming and charming as well. You just love hearing the Irish talk as well. I totally agree. Fionnula Flanagan, who over the years has done some great films. She's always like a matriarch of a family, things like James Joyce Women, that came out in 85, I think. She was in that, More recently, she's done a couple of horrors. I just found, even though I'm not spoiling anything here, I think it was a stroke she had, wasn't it?
I think so.
They don't really say if it was something that triggered it. It was just she had a stroke, and she uses a little tablet to communicate with her son and anyone else. That was very powerful. The way even she was saying it, the tablet was saying it. You could feel the power and power in it, and you still felt it was a mother's voice, if you say. The power of the mother's voice as well, and Edward, that, and that bell. I think you're like me. Probably if it was a real one, you would probably let Edward go in there and just throw the bell at out the house, because when she wanted Edward to come to her, she rang a little bell, and at one point, when all the mothers were staying there, she was using her computer. At one point, she was wanting a pillow, and she was like a kid then, it was a bit like a kid. I want my pillow, I want my pillow, I want my pillow, and poor Edward had to go out and sleep in the car, even try to do some of his interviews in there. But it wasn't just the humour. There was one scene I really liked when they travelled to, I think it was Limerick, get the tarot cards read, and then it got to a point where suddenly she was saying all these people were here, and you can clearly see, I'm very open book when it comes to things like the tarot cards and people who say they can speak to the dead, and tell you someone you maybe have lost is standing behind you on your shoulder. They always say if you go to any of these, just remember certain informations you're feeding them, And it felt like she's a bit of a dud at point. And Edward, you can see Edward was in the background. He was saying, "Oh, she's a dud here," and then suddenly I opened a can of worms. I opened a Pandora's box, because we started to learn a lot of information about his relationship with his dad, who had passed at this point, and his brother, and it goes into a slightly darker route, and that type of thing. And obviously, was it Rafa, who was his ex-boyfriend, he's now got a new Dutch partner, if I remember rightly, and they were moving away. I think it was like a nurse or something like that, some sorts. That's why he was helping him out with his mum. And then obviously get together with the other ladies. They were all characters in their own way. The ladies, they were all different types of characters. People who were very open book. I think that was the woman. It was funny. She sat there with her arms in a bad mood always, and then we learned that the reason was she was in pain, and she was needing a walker to help her around, and then obviously Edward's mum, and then there was a lady who was very religious, and you can see she didn't accept that her son was gay. She accepted it's her son in that sense of thing. And then you had the lady with the tablet. It was that the mum of Edward's shrink, psychiatrist,
Oh,
who Yeah, he was very funny. He was very funny. He reminded me a lot about like Graham Norton in the sort of sense
Yeah.
of way he was acting. He was, I don't want to sound disrespectful, he was probably the campus of all the characters with Edward's friends. And when he kept sending them videos of when he was in, as I said, folks, I worked for a very well-known holiday company, and I've worked for other holiday companies. Some of them are not here anymore. And Gran Canaria is a very gay-friendly resort. There's other resorts all around Europe and around the world. I can't remember the name of the resort. I think it was Plays America. A lot of gay couples like to go over there at certain times of the day, at certain times of the year for the Pride and that. No, even just the Pride, just to go for a holiday because it's a very friendly sort of place. And and you see him in the videos, and he's putting some sort of straps on, I'll say, over his chest. I don't. That might have sounded a bit rude there, and it was quite funny. He was sort of that was quite funny. What I also loved was the fact his other friends, that when he took his mum to the church, this was a chance to meet up with his other two friends, let him down and decide and dump their mums with him. It was like a place where they can catch up in the chatter and that. Let's just say, Ireland is a predominantly Catholic country. If my mum heard, and I'll probably say your parents heard you saying these words, they were effing and blinding in the church, they'd probably be sent to the confessions box, probably do about 100 Hail Marys and about 10,000 Our Fathers, and wash their mouth out with soap. It was quite funny how they were getting away with it, and no one telling them to go, shh, shut up, that type of thing. It was just a lovely film. I've got a neighbour, he likes films, and he was just saying, there's any good films out? And I went, yeah, there's this film for fun. And I was explaining to him, it's about a gay man who is a talented writer, and he's suddenly break out into America. And he said, no, it's all gay. And I went, no. Yeah, they're gay, but there's nothing in it that someone who's not gay will not hate about it. Come back to, obviously, Edward's book, and there was at one point, it sort of, as a wee dig at the modern day politics of America, where the question they get asked, the book came out in 2017, why is it suddenly just coming out in America now? For an obvious reason, I think we can say one word, Trump, because I remember, if you probably remember when he was first in power, the toxicity of America, and I don't know about you, I actually think it's worse now, because there's a lot of people talking about no going on holiday. And it's a shame, because the kids love going to America for the theme parks, and people love going for the city breaks. There's great cities. I found it amazing that Rafa said when he was with Edward that he was a completely different character. What happened? That's what I want to know. What happened? It changed him, made him a more, how would I say it? A more subversive character, someone who is, as soon as his mum rings the bell, he's over there to help his mum. But obviously we would all do that anyway, help our parents type thing. What changed? It doesn't really get much into that side of thing, but that's fine. That's just a little nitpicky thing. But yeah, I really did enjoy this film. So, Clotilda, just to sort of sum it up, would you want to say your final thoughts on the film and what sort of rating, and I'll do it as well after you.
I think it's just really good to see like films that are so original. I know there's a remake of an Italian one, but there's a lot of originality in it.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to speak to a lot of people, especially because it treats like the themes of caring responsibilities, but also the struggles that, older people and women, and specifically with this sort of like difficulties, like Edward's mother has a stroke, somebody else has mobility issues. Those are not things that we see on screen that much.
Totally.
So I'm very glad to sort of like see a film do it, but do it respectfully, but also putting some humor in it, right? Because otherwise it would be so depressing. I think it's good to like bring that in as well. But yeah, overall, I think it's a very good film. My only maybe criticism would be that I do wish they had done a little bit more with Edward's like career as a novelist, just because it is a subplot, which is fair. I just wish they had like pushed it a little bit more and maybe explored it a little bit more, especially because it's such a big part of his internal dilemma and internal conflict. And I also think we are at a time when that would have been an interesting reflection. His book becomes popular, especially in the US, because of TikTok. That is something that I think is quite relevant to today, and I would have liked to see it a little bit more explored, I think, especially because, there was a conscious choice of making a novelist, of making him go through this. In his personal life. But
Yeah.
overall, a very good film. I would honestly recommend to see it in the cinema, enjoy it for the humor that it brings. And I think for me that sort of fun thing was also to sort of laugh out loud with the people who saw it with in my screen. So I think that's a very good experience. Overall, I gave it 3.5 stars.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've given it 3.5 stars as well. No, I totally agree. As I said, folks, this is the 6th of April, and Clotilda's interview with James. Is that the director as well that you
Yeah.
interviewed? Yeah, the director's on it. Have a watch. Go to thepeoplesmovies.com and have a watch. I'll look at it. It's very good. Yeah, it's a very charming film. As I say, I didn't realise it was a remake. If it's a remake, and if I remember rightly, from my time when I lived in Sorrento in the Neapolitan Riviera, the Neapolitan humours is what I remember of it. It's very funny, and I would probably say the Neapolitans and the Irish and even the Scots were all from the same clan, if you like to say, when it comes to humour. We've got very dry sense of humour. We've got very cheeky humour. We've got very just natural humour. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of the English as well. I've got great humour as well, and other humour around the world. Yep, it's great. Let's just say, we've just reviewed The Death of the Unicorn. There's other films there. There's a lot of bad films out there, and there's a lot of films out there that big cinema companies, distributors are just pumping out, and they are thinking, yeah, superhero film, throw it in the cinema. Yeah, it's going to get people in. It's like the Pied Piper. People will go there, and films like this will get missed. The BFI, who support British film and Irish film, also they've distributed this film. They've released this film. That shows you how much they like this film. So people, I think, they want to see a straightforward, funny drama, which has a lot of heart, a lot of great Irish cast, and a lot of cast that people will love. Fionnula Flanagan is absolutely brilliant. James McArdle is great. He's very undecisive. All the other guys are great in it as well. They're the mums, especially the mum with the psychiatrist. She says she's got a man. Who is he from, the Middle East or something like that? But he's never really met him.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, that's very good as well. Touches on a lot of contemporary points. Obviously, I was quite surprised that Ireland when it comes to religion, is very conservative. And it may be a bit more open now, but they're very much a Catholic country, and I was quite primed at how open they are to. Again, we're only sort of scraping the barrel here at all the mums, but acceptance of their sons being gay, and obviously there's a lot gay and lesbian. How open to much it is in a country. It's a shame there's not a lot more other countries that accept it. But the persons that might be close, it might be their son, might be their brother, it might be their dads, might be their mums. They're the exact same person they were before they told when they came out, if you like to say. I just wish there's a lot more people like that there as well. Yep, it's just really a charming film. It's not offensive film. And people may be a bit, there's gay characters in it. Not to worry about. They're very funny. Yeah, they come out and you see them in the Las Palmas, Gran Canaria, plays America, having fun, out enjoying their holiday, but they're funny as well. As I said, I give this 3.5 stars. So yeah, have it, folks. That is The Four Mothers, and we both give it 3.5 stars. And that's a lot, folks. That was your episode 43 of The Chronicle. Like to thank A24, Entertainment Film Distributors, and the BFI for letting me and Clotilde review your films. Both films are now out in UK and Irish cinemas. Clotilde, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Can you tell us where you can find you, on what websites, what you can read your reviews, and what social media you're on?
Absolutely. I write reviews for The People's Movies, of course.
Thank you.
Blood and Fear Reviews, Movie Marker, Film Hounds, and a couple more that I won't mention because that would take us a very long time.
Yeah.
I am on Instagram at The Perks of Being Chloe. I am very bad at being on Twitter, But technically, I am on Twitter at Films with Chloe, which is my same nickname as Letterboxd. I'm also very bad at being on Blue Sky, so much so that I've forgotten my nickname. But I
Yeah.
am there somehow.
Yeah, we're the same as well. I think everyone's forgotten about Blue Sky. Yeah, we're on several social medias. I'm going to not mention them all. You will find them all on the People's Movies. Got the little links there. The ones I will mention, we are still on X. We're on Instagram at the People's Movies 1. That's the one I think we update more frequently, and also at Facebook at the People Movie. YouTube, we're on YouTube at the People's Movies 1. That's where, after I upload this episode and previous episodes and future episodes, eventually that Chronicle episodes will appear on there as well. The chat will sometimes continue at the Chronicle Take 2, so stay tuned on that social media and also at the People's Movies to find out when the episodes will be appearing. You can also find out if you sign up for our email newsletter, which you can find the link over at the People's Movies. As in where you can find this episode and other episodes and previous episodes and future episodes. Go to your favourite podcast websites, such as Podbean, which is our main host for the podcast. They've also got places like Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, to name a few. If you go over to Podbean, we've got links up there that will take you to a lot of them over there. We're still working on to get us on the Apple Podcast as well. The Chronicle and the People's Movies is a very small website and podcast. You can show your support for them at Buy Me a Coffee. The links are over at the website, but also sharing the podcast on social media with your friends and family. And if you're listening over at one of their favourite podcast websites, please do like us, do share us. That'll help the algorithm, and that will actually help people find us. Other than that, Clotilda, thank you very much for joining us. And for you folks, until the next time, enjoy the movies.